purpose of government in the United States is to protect our rights to liberty and the pursuit of happiness and public and personal property. And that's the only purpose of the federal government. And we have gotten far, far away from that purpose that our founding fathers put together. And now it's time to start moving back towards what our founding fathers wanted government to be, to get it out of our lives where it's just into every aspect of our life and causing everybody to lose their liberties and their money and their property, and it's put our nation in peril. The role of government in business is to stay out of business. To stay out of business as much as possible. If there's anything they should be doing, it's possibly to be laying out a level playing field for the American businessman to prosper. When the free enterprise system, when capitalism flourishes best, is when the government stays out of our business. And the more they do that, the better off we're going to be. The taxation system in the United States is completely upside down. I would abolish the 16th Amendment, get rid of our totally get rid of our federal income tax and replace it with a national consumption tax, but only replace the income tax, not have both of them operating at the same time. We need to get rid of the taxation process we have right now. It's discriminatory. It pits one group of people against another. It has some people who are earning and producing jobs paying all the taxes, while a great deal of people who aren't doing that are not paying any taxes. The system was never designed to work that way. It's a socialist system that was put together in 1913 when they put the 16th Amendment together. It's wrong. We need to replace it. A consumption tax is fair and equal, so whatever you buy, you pay then right at the cash register for what you've consumed and or whatever you're buying. And so that helps regulates people's way of doing business and how much money they want to spend. So they're in the driver's seat, and it's not the federal government. And we could completely do away with the IRS and all those forms and all that work that we all have to do and get in place by April 15th. But the system needs to go away, and it needs to go away right now. And we could do it in Congress. We could sit down in a year. We could put together a plan and switch over the whole system and integrate it in and get rid of the federal income tax system right away. The federal government has no role in education. It should not be involved in education. We should completely do away with the Department of Education and put the money and the ideas and the control back in at the local level, at the state level, and at the level of the local school districts. The whole idea that we pervaded throughout the United States as we were growing was the idea of competition. And when you have 50 states competing for ideas, whoever has the best ideas, other people will get it from them and use it. So we don't need the federal government telling us at the local level how we're supposed to teach our kids. We can figure out at the state level, we can figure out at the county level and the school district level what we want to teach our children and how. That system works best. And education in this country worked best when we did just that. And now the system has changed. And anytime you have the federal government or any organization, anytime that all the control is centralized in one place, then the system stagnates because you've only got one set of ideas and one set of rules. And then along with the set of rules in the federal government comes a whole bunch of penalties. And so if we did away with the Department of Education, then maybe Utah wouldn't be getting 50% of its education money from outside of the state, from the federal government, instead of generating it and dispersing it here the way we want it and teaching our kids things that we want to teach them in the way we want to teach it. Well, The simple answer to that is no. We are a sovereign nation. Other people's laws don't belong in our country. We have a Declaration of Independence, a Constitution, a Congress. We have more laws than we know what to do with. We don't need somebody else's laws coming in and contradicting our laws or trying to force us to do things that we don't want to do, that in our country and in our culture that aren't normal and natural to what we want to do. So no, we don't need Sharia law, and we don't need the United Nations telling us what to do, because all those things just push us closer and closer to one world government. We're the United States of America. We're not an American state of the one world government. Illegal immigration. The part about illegal immigration that we're discussing here is the part about ID theft and illegal immigration, immigrants using other people's ID, and what should be done about it. Well, it's simple. If you commit a crime, or if I commit a crime, whether I'm an illegal immigrant or not, it doesn't make any difference. The crime is a crime, and it should be prosecuted. You know, we have all kinds of ways to catch people and prosecute them for the things that they do wrong. We have an E-Verify system. We have ways of finding illegal immigrants wherever they are. And it doesn't make any difference whether they're illegal or not. If they're here in this country and they're committing a crime, they should be prosecuted. And it's just like the various rules we have. If you're here in this country and you're here illegally, why should you be granted special privileges? You know, why should you be granted in-house tuition for going to schools, you know, in-state tuition? Why should you be given a driver's license? Why should you be given, you know, the same privileges that people who are here legally and working here legally should have? And when it comes to in-state tuition, how come there's in-state tuition for illegal immigrants, but there's not in-state tuition for the children of people who are stationed at Hill Air Force Base? You know, they're the people that are protecting our country, but their kids, because their home of record is at someplace, some other state, they don't get in-state tuition here in Utah. That's wrong. So the immigrants get something that the protectors don't. Wrong. Energy. That's one of the most important things that we have to fix in this country. I know a lot about energy. I spent many years as one of the top energy officials in the Pentagon. I honestly believe that energy is part of the overall solution to the problems that we have in this country. If we can become energy independent, and we can because we have all this energy locked up all over the country, especially here in Utah, if we could do the 3Ds, if we could dig, drill, and deregulate, we would have a much better source of jobs in this country, because the energy that we develop in this country will create jobs. It'll help us restore our manufacturing and industrial base. It'll bring jobs back to the United States. That's what we need to do. We need to make it a national priority. It is a national security priority. We need to develop our energy of all kinds here all across the United States, but especially here in Utah. If we would get rid of all the rules and regulations that keep us off of our public lands so that we could then develop those lands, we could create enormous amounts of energy. And that's true of all of the western states, including Alaska. And then with the money that we were able to make that would come into our coffers here in the state of Utah, we could fund a lot of the things that we're getting federal money for now, like education. We do away with the Department of Education, we lose federal money. But if we deregulate our public lands so we can create energy off of them, then we've got more money to put into our education system. It all ties together. Well, you can take communism, you can take socialism, you can take organizations inside the United States. You know, the NEA, I think, is opposed to exceptionalism in our country. Federalism. You know, the secular humanist progressive policies and practices in the United States. Occupy Wall Street. You know, Sharia law. Those are all philosophies or cultures that are opposed to people doing the very best they can. That's what the United States is all about, is competition and the ability to have the opportunity to do the very best with your abilities, to do the very best you can and be anything you want to be. And when the federal government and the rest of these organizations like that I just named get involved, they're all about control. They don't think we're smart enough to control our own lives. They want to control our lives for us. They want to force us to do things. Americans are not about being forced. And so all those things are opposed to our system of exceptionalism. The biggest problem affecting the United States today is big government. Big federal government is constantly eroding our liberties, taking the power away from the people, taking the power away from the states, and we need to reduce the size of the federal government at all levels. Cut, cap, balance, and limit. We need to do all those things. And they didn't happen overnight. They're incremental encroachments on our rights, and we can incrementally undo them. But the quicker we do it, the better it is for people's liberties, and the better it is for our economy. Okay. Separation of church and states is just a plan by the federal government to eliminate religion from the daily lives of the American people. There was never intended to be any separation of church and state. Separation of church and state is something that came through a bunch of court cases. It's not in the Constitution. It's not supposed to be part of the Constitution. The Constitution gives us freedom of religion, not freedom from religion. And the way that we've got separation of church and state put together today, it's depriving people of their rights and it's destroying the moral foundation of this nation. The Welfare Clause and the Commerce Clause are two of the basic foundations we have for running our lives here in the United States. The Welfare Clause basically was a philosophy put forth in the preamble of the Constitution. So, it basically said this is how the government is supposed to work. These are things the government is supposed to do. And that was all well and fine for that time. But what happened was, since then, the terms of general welfare have changed, and they shouldn't have. If you go through the 1900s and the 1800s and see how they put the laws together, and now how they put the laws together, they've changed the meaning of what the Welfare Clause stood for, and now it's the government can do everything for everybody and is supposed to do everything for everybody. That wasn't the meaning of the Welfare Clause as was written out by our founding fathers. And the people who want to do something different, they should really spend more time reading what our founding fathers had to say, and so they would know how to interpret those things. When it comes to the Commerce Clause, it was supposed to regulate, commerce both inside and outside the United States and within the states. But it was supposed to establish more of a level playing field. It wasn't designed so that the federal government could tell the states how they can do things. And that's what's happened. It's changed, and doesn't even really deal with commerce anymore. Now it deals with telling people how they're going to run their lives and then using the guise of the Commerce Clause to make them do things that they don't want to do. So what we've taken is two very simple clauses that were designed to help keep government at a minimum and run the United States the way it should be, and now we've changed it to they become tools for forcing people to do things they don't want to do. Once again, the federal government taking away people's liberties and forcing them to be in a box they don't want to be in.